In the Thumb area of Michigan, near the tip on the west coast, you'll find the world's largest man-made harbor. It's Harbour Beach, Michigan, a community with enough unique history and heritage to fill volumes of history books. History colorful enough to highlight on a giant mural, one of the largest in the state. To portray such a proud past in an accurate and inspiring way, a call was made for artist Dave Wiley. Dave has an impressive reputation of being able to research an area's history and depict it with a detailed emotional accuracy that'll tug at the very heartstrings of the area's people. The Harbour Beach project, which fills the east side of the community building, took Dave and his partner Bob Buzzy 3 summers to complete. Dave and Bob are originally from Lincoln Park, but now make West Branch their home. This is where we caught up with them, early one morning at an area shopping center, before business hours, doing what they do best, interpreting via a mural the area's history, this time West Branch in the Ogemaw County area. Dave told us he began his artistic career at about 3 by drawing on his bedroom walls. His parents recognized a unique ability surfacing, so when most kids were getting scolded for their bedroom wall renderings, Dave's parents seemed to encourage him. So by the time he reached high school, his bedroom walls were rather legendary.
I was always known throughout, like in high school, for having sort of a Sistine Chapel of a bedroom. In fact, in art class one year I got graded on my bedroom, which was different because I always enjoyed painting large-scale things. So the teacher came and actually graded my room, which was something I didn't know if ever been done before or not. So from that, I received my first commission when I was in high school, and I believe it was a Civil War scene on a fellow's living room wall. And from that point, I've just kept working at trying to refine my work, and now I go about doing different murals and different scenes, and a lot of these now are in a historical theme of things. So this one here is the history of West Branch. We're trying to represent, go along with it and show a little bit of what happened, what the lifestyle was like back then.
I see that your creativeness goes wild when you get a mural as far as a portrait. I've seen some of your portraits, very good portraits, but I think you have a lot more creative or artistic license with murals.
This is
you
true.
Enjoy this more, I bet.
Yeah, this is true. Sometimes when you're, in other words, on a portrait, you can't do too much outside of make it look like the person. This here you can go and create and have a little bit of work, and it's nice because once people have seen my work, they kind of give me a sort of a green light to go ahead and put a story into each thing. So it's enjoyable. It allows you to have more creativity in your work, and that's something that not everybody's job. You can do that too.
One of your more noticed pieces is in Harbour Beach. Tell us how you came about being commissioned for that and the process. What happened? How did that come about?
We were contacted by friends of ours that used to live here in West Branch, and they had been contacted because they wanted somebody to do a mural. So they says, we've got the guy for you. So I felt pretty nice from that. So I went down and took a look at this huge blank wall, and they said something historical would be nice on there. So from that, I had a couple of weeks before they were meeting with the city council and different groups that were involved in this. So I built them a scale model of the entire building, and it had removable archways so that you can see the entire scope of things. So from that, I went down and showed this in front of the boards and everything, and they gave me the go-ahead. And so that was a 3-summer project, mainly because it's an outdoor project. And being right on Lake Huron, you would leave here, it'd be nice and warm, you'd get there, it'd be cold. And we would get there thinking we're going to do a lot of painting that day, and we'd end up, all we could do was draw on there because we would be wearing gloves and hoods, and it would just be that cold wind coming off of Lake Huron. But it was a great project. It was probably the biggest one to date, and of course the most in-depth project to date. It had this type of detail, but yet on a much larger scale. So it was quite a undertaking.
It was it kind of highlighted the history of
it was the history of Harbour Beach, and it highlighted not only the good aspects of it, but there was a lot of trouble. There was a lot of fires. There was a lot of things that weren't always, but we tried to chronicle those and depict what actually happened there. So we not only do we show the pictures, but there's also some written history, some scroll work that goes along with each picture so that you can read the history as well.
In a lot of your pictures, which is very unique, is that you have a story in each picture. For instance, this one of the Ogemaw County Courthouse. You take a look at that, and you have to stop and look at that. Is that a theme of yours? Is that something that you usually do?
Well, just that I've found when I do a painting, in other words, of a building, it would be kind of, it's okay, it's just a building. But when I put a story in there, such as here you see where the ball has broken the window and the kids are getting yelled at, and of course, as brothers would do, they're pointing at each other. You have one here who I thought was smart because he's taken off. But it's something that when people come by and look, the first thing they notice, of course, is the building because of the size. But then they start looking really close, really into the depth and the detail, and they appreciate it more for that. So I try to add a story into all these pictures that I can, and to show something more, a lighter side of life instead of always being quite so serious.
Okay. Now, one of the big things I see in this picture here is that the brickwork here, I mean, this is tedious work. How can you maintain inspiration while doing these intricate details?
Well, trying to keep the inspiration in there, sometimes it can get mundane, just be doing the same thing. But as you see your picture starting to come to life, it sort of revitalizes you and it enables you to go on and do the other part. And another thing is, on this type of thing, rather than just doing bricks until you can't see straight anymore, is to do them for a while and then perhaps work on some other aspect of the picture. But as you were working on those and you could see it come to life, it really, you get feedback onto yourself and it makes it more enjoyable.
To be historically accurate, what type of research do you do, for instance, on the Ogemaw County Courthouse?
Well, for this, I went to the museum here in town, went to the library, tried to find as much information as I could, and I was able to come up with an old copy of a picture, and I started the original layout of it with that, and then through further research I found an old tintype, and from the tintype I was able to see the detail in the building to know where the cement work and the different types of things that were going on there. So sometimes you really have to look deep and hard. And then also I've heard stories from different people, older people, that had told me things that I didn't realize about it, such as the tower. They were afraid it was going to crush the building at one point, so they went in and tore down a lot of the structural parts of it, and then they couldn't get it to fall down. And then once they realized they had weakened it, they said, well, now we have to take it down. So for the last years of its life as a building, they had a cap over this rather than a tower. But this was tore down in '76, and it was constructed in 1888.
Okay, now the picture we see on the next wall, you noticed on that picture of the train depot in West Branch that everybody's attention is focused. How did you achieve this? Is there some artistic secret?
Well, in the design of the painting, trying to create the lines, trying to also where the people's attention is directed, where they're looking at, and also through the use of color. It makes your eye direct at where the people's in the painting are directed. So this is a way of getting you to look where all the rest of the people in the painting are looking, and trying to draw your attention to one scene, one particular part of the scene.
What is the biggest mural you did?
The biggest one so far has been Harbour Beach, just on its overall scale. And of course, being over 28 feet tall, we were on scaffolding quite a bit. And what is nice in here, of course, is I'm not up and down, I'm maybe on a small step ladder, but we would be always up on top of 2 or 3 flights of scaffolding, and the color of paint that you need is always down on the bottom. So you're up and down quite a bit. So a lot of time, it's hard to estimate how much time was actually spent in climbing for different things that you needed. But here, we don't have quite that problem.
Bob, how did you get acquainted with Dave?
Well, when I was back in Lincoln Park, that's where I met Dave, right around junior high school. And all through high school and stuff, we got acquainted and things we did, running, painting, track, and all that stuff.
Have you always been interested in art yourself, or?
Since then, yeah, a little bit. Not quite in the scale that Dave is, but...
Oh, you were at the Harbour Beach area, too, with Dave?
Yes, I helped him on the Harbour Beach.
Okay, what did you think of such a big project? Did you say, Dave, you're going over your head on this one? Or
at first, yeah, it was a big project. We could never see it being finished. It was just go on, you know, it's a lot of work.
But come to final completion, it did. Official dedication ceremonies were set for midsummer 1992. Out of the hundreds of works completed by Dave Wiley, we asked him if he had any favorites.
Well, of course, this will be a favorite piece. What I try to do is each project that I do, I try to outdo my last one. And by doing that, I think is always going to keep me on my toes and make me do my best work. But there are some, such as, I'll always remember the Harbour Beach because of the size and scale of that one. There's been some work that I've done for various schools where, like, their large team mascots that are on their gym walls and this type of thing, and some of those stick in my mind also.
Well, Dave Wiley, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, artistic schedule, and appearing on Michigan Magazine. We hope to see many more depictions of the history of Michigan throughout the state, courtesy of Dave Wiley.